Arsenal 2, Manchester United 3, and it means that Arsenal have lost for the first time this season at the Emirates Stadium. And we did say there would be hysteria if United went 2 for 2 under Michael Carrick. So let's not delay. Crook, have your say.
Listen, I don't want to get carried away because I think the next 5 games are going to tell us a lot more actually about Michael Carrick's ability to get the best out of these players, because it is a dressing room who tend to turn up for the big games and then maybe let themselves down in the matches they're expected to win. So with that in mind, I thought United would give Arsenal a good game on Sunday. I optimistically predicted a score draw. I didn't expect us to go there and win for the first time in the league since 2017. But what a way to do it. The first goal was a bit of a gift from Arsenal. The next 2 were absolutely superb. And you know what? Watching it back last night, as I did in full, there were times when we controlled the game. You know, we were the team who kept possession, particularly in the second half. We were dictating the tempo. I think he got his tactics spot on. I wasn't totally convinced in the first half an hour because I thought it was all a bit laboured and a bit one pace. But I think that was designed to frustrate Arsenal and quieten the home crowd. So he couldn't have done any more. They've won the derby against the second best team in the league, and now they've gone away from home and beaten the top team, something nobody's managed since May. So absolutely fantastic, and I'm delighted for Carrick. I'm delighted for those away fans. I'm delighted for me, to be honest.
Yeah, so we're all delighted for you. I'm pleased you watched it back, because he was pretty sceptical about the way that Manchester United started the game, when clearly they wanted to try and just take the sting out of the match and keep the football deep inside their own half. They weren't rushing things. They're in fact time wasting at times and sort of just slowing the pace of the game down. He was getting very irate about it. So I'm pleased he went back and assessed it properly, because he was a bit emotionally invested when we were at the Emirates yesterday. I don't want to play down the achievements of Michael Carrick in any way, though, Darren, but does he's not reinvented the wheel here, but he has been very clever in the way he's gone about things. But does he have license to do this, only because he is prioritising short-term results and he doesn't have to think too much about the long term?
I don't think so. I'm with Crook, actually. That might surprise you to know, but I have to say it's the first time, as a neutral, I'm not a United fan, with my journalist head on, but also my non-journalist head on as well. This is the first time in years I've been genuinely entertained by Manchester United. And I know that's a big, big call, but there was a lot about there was a common sense approach to the way that Carrick approached it. We've all known, whether you support United or don't, they simply do not work with three at the back. All of their most storied moments, their greatest moments have come with a 4. They're back to their attacking traditions. It's a real common sense approach to the way that Carrick approached it. But most of all, I got a sense that the players understood finally what it meant to wear a Man United shirt. There was a standard, a level of performance against Arsenal that I've not seen from them for a long time. They looked like they enjoyed carrying the shirt as well. There was organisation in defence, belief in midfield, speed in attack, and I actually think they can maintain this level of performance. I think that we've seen many times, and our non-United listeners will attest to this. Sometimes the answer's right under your nose. I remember Spurs went chasing after Louis van Gaal. He wouldn't come, so they went for Pochettino instead and had some of their greatest moments in in Premier League history. England were after all sorts of big names. They wouldn't come, so they turned to Gareth Southgate, and he completely revitalised the culture. He was the right man for the right period in England's football history. And it might just be that Carrick is the guy under the club's noses who's very understated. I was looking at him on the touchline alongside Arteta, arms waving all over the place outside of his technical area, and he's just got his arms folded behind his back, and he's empowering the players to take ownership, leadership, and they did that superbly well. I think he could make this job his own.
Interesting, isn't it? Because I think he has settled in really well, and it's almost felt seamless. Okay, so that doesn't usually happen, especially not Manchester United, not in the last 10 years anyway. But he's played 2 teams in which Manchester United are the submissive side, right? So they have to earn the right to be in the game. Whereas I suppose the biggest test, as we've sort of said over the course of the last couple of weeks, actually, when talking about it, and this is the point I was getting to really, will come when they play teams where they have to assert themselves on the football match. They have to make things
Yeah.
happen. And that's coming round the corner, Crook.
It is. I think it would. Fulham at home, Palace at home, Tottenham at home, Everton and West Ham away. I mean, you couldn't handpick 5 better fixtures, to be honest, in terms of the current form table. And I think Carrick can give the players confidence to go out and express themselves. It's not rocket science what he's done. I did a bit of a dive into the game on the talkSPORT website for my comment piece of the weekend. It turned into a bit of an assassination job on Ruben Amorim, which wasn't necessarily the intention when I started writing. But he's gone to a back 4. He's abandoned the system that Ruben was wedded to, that was fundamentally flawed in terms of the Premier League and in terms of United's DNA. He's put Kobbie Mainoo back into the team. And I say in the piece that actually ignoring Mainoo all season in itself should have been a sackable offence, because we've seen what he can bring. It goes unnoticed because of the quality of the finish, but it was his little pass into Matheus Cunha that actually opened up the space for the Brazilian to score the winner. He's got Bruno Fernandes playing as a number 10 and not just trying to shoehorn him into the team in a deep-lying midfield role. He's got Harry Maguire playing like we know he can, and I thought he was really important to that victory yesterday. He's got Cunha happy to come off the bench and make a contribution. No sulking. He came on and got an assist against City, comes on and gets the winner yesterday. And he's got the best out of Dorgu as well, a player signed by United to suit Amorim's system, but actually he's a far better winger than he ever was a wing-back. So, as I say, it's not rocket science, and long may it continue.
Yeah, it was a good day for the Manchester United recruitment team, wasn't it? Brian Mbeumo scoring, Patrick Dorgu scoring, Matheus Cunha scoring, and goalkeeper Senne Lomans making a superb stop from Martin Zubamendi when it was 0-0. Talk to me about the other side of the coin, Darren Lewis. Mikel Arteta made a quadruple change just before the hour mark, and it seemed to take Arsenal a very long time to adjust to that. Was that a mistake?
I don't know about a mistake. I mean, I think all the way through the game, Arsenal were really, really curious, in so much as they panicked most when they went ahead. And I think there is a lot of pressure on them that they are feeling, particularly digital pressure. There is a huge industry now that has exploded around Arsenal on social media. And as we know, we are in an era where players are on their phones straight after, before and after matches, to see how their performances are perceived. And I just wonder whether some of that pressure, is getting to the players, because it was really, really bizarre. We all know just how superb they've been, particularly in defence so far this season. When they went ahead, we know the record. 24 times they've gone ahead, 24 times they've won. They've never lost when they've gone ahead. And yet they looked all over the place when they went ahead. The goal came from an uncharacteristic mistake, the first goal, in defence from some very reliable, dependable players. The second goal, they gave Dorgu, as brilliant as that finish was, they were unable to cut out the trade-off of passes between him and Fernandes. And then the third goal, again, Cunha is allowed the time and space to let rip with an outstanding strike, yes, but Arsenal are normally so good at closing that kind of thing down. And I think right now, I said before about Arteta on the touchline, the attitude of most clubs reflects the leadership. And I think Arteta just looked as though the pressure might well be getting to him. And I think it's wide open. I have said that for quite some time. There's so much football to be played, and Arsenal, from a position of supposed strength, now look as though they're there for the taking.
Yeah, well, the Arsenal fans that we were talking to after the game last night, in fact, we got quite a lot of people come up to us to have a chat after the game, Crook. And the idea of the narrative resurfing about them throwing away the title, they really hate the idea of this. They absolutely are trying their best. In fact, one of the guys came over to us and said to us, I will talk about our problems to my Arsenal supporting friends, but any other friends that I've got that support any other clubs, I will not discuss that. I will give this sort of facade that everything is okay, because they're so desperate to shut down the narrative of a wobble, of a potential collapse. What was Mikel Arteta like in the tunnel afterwards? Because you spoke to him.
No, I've got to say he was quite complimentary of Manchester United. He tried to put it into perspective. They're still 4 points clear. They were brilliant in his words, in the Champions League in midweek. So he certainly didn't portray any signs of panic. But I do think that desperation from the terraces could be their undoing, because I mentioned you at half-time, it was 1-1, and it was silent inside the Emirates as the players went off. And then once United scored their second goal, you could feel the agitation, the frustration. It was the same when I was there a few weeks ago against Brighton. They were 2-0 up in that game, Arsenal. But when they conceded, the whole mood amongst the supporters changed. So I think they are worried that they're going to throw away the Championship again. And I look at Arteta, as I say, he carried himself well afterwards. I'm not convinced he should have made that quadruple change. It's very unusual for a manager to make 4 changes in one sweep. And that, to me, just smelt of panic a little bit from Arteta. And also, the stat on Match of the Day last night, Arsenal 17th in the table in terms of the percentage of goals that have come from open play. They are too reliant on set pieces. And I think Mikel Arteta needs to trust his players, the likes of Bukayo Saka, who's off it again, Martin Odegaard, the forward players, to actually go out and win games with their talent rather than just relying on free kicks and corners.
Can I just make a very quick point about to what Alex has just said? Because I agree massively. I remember texting a couple of friends of mine, to ask, when was the last time we saw, well, all three of us between us, we've covered lots and lots and lots of hundreds of games. When's the last time you can remember a manager making a quadruple substitution? In 25 years, I cannot remember a single game where that has happened. Now, he might frame that as, the team were playing so bad, I'd replaced all 11. You know, managers sometimes say that. But the perception of it was panic. It wasn't that the performance was so bad that I had to take 4 players off. It was panic. It was needless, and it sent out the wrong message, I would imagine, to yourself, Alex, and certainly to myself, and to a lot of other neutrals, not necessarily fans of the club, but neutrals, that maybe he looked as though he didn't quite know what to do against this revitalised United side.
Well, look, you mentioned about the lack of creativity, and it would concern you, wouldn't it? I mean, it's amazing, bearing in mind that at the beginning of the season, they looked like the Avengers assembled. You know, you've got some great talent in there. Saka, Eze, Odegaard, Trossard, Waneri, who's now gone off to Marseille, scored 13 minutes into his debut there. Martinelli, Havertz when he's fit, and Madueke. Madueke last scored a goal in the Premier League 1 year ago yesterday. You know, that was Chelsea losing at Manchester City. His previous assist came on the 15th of December 2024. Gabriel Martinelli has also scored in the Premier League just once this season. He's got no assists. Why is there such a lack of creativity in this team with so much talent?
Because I think they've put too much emphasis on the set pieces, and I think that's stifled a lot of their creativity. And there is a fear factor that I think has set in from these players to express themselves. And it's Arteta's job now. They are still 4 points clear. They are still odds-on favourites to win the title. But actually to encourage them to go out and win games with their footballing ability. Big test for them next weekend, you know, away from home against Leeds. Never an easy place to go. It's going to be feisty. I think we're going to find out just how much nerve Arsenal have got, how much stomach for this fight. If they drop points there, my word, it's going to get very edgy.
Does that explain it to you, though, Darren? You know, they've put too much into set pieces, because you can do both, right? You can still release Saka's talent, Madueke's talent, Martinelli's talent, Havertz's talent, without sort of forgetting that, you know, without ignoring set pieces. You can still work on set pieces. You can do both. They're not mutually exclusive things, are they? And actually, they came away from set pieces in December. They hardly scored a goal from any.
Yeah, you're right. But I think the truth is somewhere between what the two of you are saying, because I think the difference between United and Arsenal on Sunday was that Carrick empowered United to play, to take responsibility, and to make their own luck. And even, listen, in the past, when you've seen United, they've fallen behind or conceded late, they've waved the white flag. They didn't do that on this occasion. There was still the belief that they could make something happen. As far as Arsenal are concerned, I think there is a little bit of fear within the players that if they don't do exactly as they are told by Arteta, then they will lose their place in the team and they might not get it back. So they stick to this quite rigid framework of operating, which has been successful so far. But when that meets a team with the belief to attack and take control as United did, they don't quite know what to do.
2 clean sheets in the last 10. Here's another reason why things have gone wrong for Arsenal. They were so resolute. They were so difficult to break down in the early part of the season. But yesterday was the first time they conceded 3 goals at home since May 2023. You lose that defensive resilience. You take away the little bit of flair and creativity because you're putting the handbrake on. Add in the pressure, and all of a sudden you do have a little bit of bother, don't you, Crook?
Yeah, you do. And actually, obviously, the first goal was a defensive mistake. They could have done more, I guess, to stop Dorgu getting his shot away, to stop Bruno Fernandes getting the ball into him for the second. The third was just a worldie. But again, there was a lot of space for Matheus Cunha. And was it Perry Groves? It was very critical of the Arsenal centre-backs for backing off too much and allowing Cunha to get the shot away.
It was quite interesting. Yeah, because Alan Pardew was like, you've got to just appreciate how good Cunha's strike is. Whereas Perry Groves was very disappointed that Gabriel didn't get out and engage. Actually, watching it back, I think he has got the opportunity to take a step forward and just close the angle down.
Yeah, but I think also that they didn't get that protection from midfield, that back line they usually get. Zubimendi was off it. Declan Rice, probably out of desperation, was playing a lot more forward maybe than he would usually do in these big games. Obviously, Ødegaard was taken off at half-time. When we were on air on Friday, actually, even before the game yesterday, I pinpointed that midfield area as quite key. How would Bruno Fernandes, Kobbie Mainoo and Casemiro stack up, arguably against Arsenal's strongest part of the team? United won the midfield battle hands down, and ultimately that was where the game was won and lost.
talkSPORT.